and welcome back to another Travels of Red Rover. I'm Shawn.
And I'm Corinne.
And today we are in the Redwoods.
Yes, California Redwoods. We're down in the state park portion near Elk Prairie.
And right now we're standing in front of Big Tree that's approximately 1,500 years old, and it's a big tree.
So our objective today is to do some filming of the forest groves and hopefully get some nice side lighting. So it's going to be a bit different than the photography we usually get in the desert.
Yes, it's going to be really different than our usual desert photography, but we're looking forward to it. And as always, it's nothing like having a new challenge. So let's get started and let's go. Good morning again. So one of the challenges that we find, or at least especially I find shooting in a forest, is the amount of chaos in among the trees. I find it very, very difficult to find a subject or a series of subjects that kind of simplify or create an image that is not so chaotic. Now what I'm doing here is I'm actually using the path down into one of the cathedral groves where we have the large trees in the background. I'm not even trying to actually capture all of the tree. I'm really only working on the lower trunks. And what I'm waiting for now is actually the light side lighting, a little bit more side lighting, to actually give the trees a little bit more interest and maybe highlight them or separate them from the rest of the forest. So that's what we're waiting for, and hopefully something like that will happen.
So with the trail that we've been on, there's quite a steep slope to our east. So it's prevented a lot of the sunlight from coming through. But we're starting to see some of the light hit some of the bigger tree trunks as we walk along the trail. And we're working on a little composition here with a large tree trunk and some side lighting. That's the tree that I've been working on. The only problem is that the shadows are quite distinct relative to the lighting, so it's not quite as subtle as I'd like. It's a little more stark. Here's a view from the back of the camera, and the video camera is actually showing it up a little bit brighter than it actually is. So maybe the interest of the shadows playing against the lighting might come out quite nice.
So Corinne and I have continued to walk along the path. It's about 9:30 in the morning, and the side lighting is actually getting to be a little too bright at this point. You're getting extreme hot spots in the photographs, and that makes it even more difficult to set up a shot. Anyway, one of the last shots I'm working on is this one right here. It's using the path and a little bit of dappling light way up by in the center of the center middle of the photograph on those leaves up there as a way to sort of walk you in and through the photograph. And then there's actually 4 big trees, but it turns out that you really only see 3 of the trees in the photograph. The 4th one's not really very clear, so it kind of gives you a 3-tree angle around the photograph. Anyway, I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but I'm going to give it a go. Good morning.
Good morning.
Today's the 2nd day out in the Redwoods.
Yes, we had an evening off last night. We had some errands to do, but we've come back to the Cowbarrel Road near where the big tree is. We're going to start our trail from the end where we finished yesterday because we saw some interesting trees after the light got too harsh.
So we'll have a good time this morning. It's a bit of a walk up, and then we'll join you again.
Up behind me over here, the sun is coming through the trees, and I've been working at doing a little sunburst. What I need to do is line up my camera so that the sun is somewhat behind a couple trees, but just peeking through. And then I want my f-stop to be a very high number, so it's a small aperture. I've got mine at f16. And then I'm doing a series of pictures as the sun's moving ever so slightly. And at some point, I usually can get the sun just coming out from behind one of the tree limbs or the tree branches, and the exposure and the aperture set it up so that there's a little starburst or sunburst coming through between the trees. And the trick is that you have to accept a lot of your trees are going to look as silhouettes rather than really well defined. But if you are into multiple exposures, you could do some exposures that are done right after the sun moves back behind the tree, and then those could be blended with the one with the sunburst.
So it didn't take long for the light to get kind of contrasty in here. So I decided I'd play around with something a little different. So I decided to put on my 1:400 zoom lens and use it to really compress a scene that's way down there. I know you can't really see it very well here on the video. I'll show you in the back of my camera here so you can see it a little better. And what I'm doing is I'm using the long lens to really flatten the overall composition. So what I've really got is these 3 trees on this side. They're all catching a little bit of light, and I'm using the long lens to flatten them. That one tree is actually quite a bit closer to me than the other 2. So, but in the photograph, it actually looks like they're pretty much in the same plane. So hopefully that'll come out. The one challenge I'm having is that the hot spots are starting to get a little on the bright side and may just be too distracting, although I may be able to dodge that a little bit and make it not quite so obvious. So I'm doing this shot at about 250 millimeters, f9, and I've taken the exposure compensation way down to really reduce the impact of the bright areas in front of me. Now, as I've been standing here, the light has actually shifted around a little bit, and it's starting to light up other areas that are a little closer to me. So I might actually back up and try this photograph again, including some of the now backlit greenery that I'm starting to see. So I have moved the camera back about another 40 feet, and my idea was to include more greenery, But at the end of the day, I even like this shot better, but with the greenery out of it. I have a bit of a hot spot that I'm going to have to deal with. It's up in this corner here. But otherwise, this is a much more balanced shot with the road leading right down into the mammoth trees. I actually ended up cropping this shot a lot more. There were just too many other distractions and made this all about the trees. I also shot this in landscape and ended up enjoying this shot a great deal more. Corinne found a lovely little composition that's a very, very tiny fern and tree type composition. As the light starts to get a little brighter, the amount of really hot highlights gets more and more challenging. So what we're starting to look for now, it's the end of the photographic session, is to find spots where the light is really, really filtered and just highlighting small little vignettes in the forest. Right behind me here, there's a beautiful example where we have a fern kind of nestled into the big redwood tree. And the fern and the redwood tree is just very gently lit. And the fern is much brighter and lit so that its highlights aren't overbearing, but that it has enough highlight to distinguish it from the tree. So we've been working at photographing this particular fern. Corinne has been photographing it in a landscape format. I've been photographing it in a portrait format. I'm thinking this is probably going to end up being a square crop type of photograph, but we'll just have to see when we get back and look at it in Lightroom. That's a fairly simple photograph. There's nothing really special about it. I'm using a polarizer to bring down and really intensify the colors. And then I'm also shooting at about f9, about ISO 400, because it is still actually surprisingly dark in here, and probably have about a 2-second shutter speed. And fortunately, there's absolutely not a breath of breeze in here today, so the ferns are staying nice and steady while we take the shot. So we've had a great 2 days up here in the Redwoods. It's been absolutely beautiful weather for hiking and photography in the trees themselves. We had 2 good mornings. Right now it's starting to get a little too harsh, and that happened to us about the same time yesterday. So we're starting to pack up and head down.
And he's meaning that the light is too harsh and creates the hot spots in the pictures, too much contrast between the shadows and the bright spots.
Actually, I didn't mean that at all. I meant I was getting too harsh.
Well, that happens too if we don't get enough food.
Yes, that's right. I'm getting hangry. That happened yesterday and starting to happen today. So we've been doing lots of uphill hiking. We sure hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give us a thumbs up.
And if you'd like to see more of our videos, we hope you'd consider subscribing.
And as always, if you'd like to know when we release a video, hit that little bell symbol down below.
And as always, if you would like to leave a comment or a question, we welcome all your thoughts and ideas and questions, and we respond to all of them.
Thank you so much for coming along, and bye for now.
Bye for now.